all of Nigeria. I represent a number of energy companies who have been in Nigeria for at least half a century. But more importantly, we have seen Nigeria do some very positive things. And might I first make sure that I mention Congresswoman Robin Kelly, who I know is en route. I want to thank her for her leadership on this legislation. I was delighted to co-sponsor. I had likewise introduced legislation that was legislation sponsored by myself and Congressman Chabot. But I'm delighted to have the opportunity to support this legislation, which is in essence a combination of our points about Nigeria, and also to acknowledge Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney and Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, who we've been working together on Boko Haram. But my point is that Nigeria has had some positive successes. It's one of the only and first states on the continent to fight and successfully overcome Ebola, to have the kind of medical care and science to make sure that they eliminated Ebola in Nigeria, even though one of the first cases was in Nigeria by way of someone traveling to Nigeria. But of course, we have faced a crisis, not of the makings of the Nigerian people, but in the northern state, unfortunately, through the misunderstandings and the horrors of believing, but not only believing, but evidenced that the resources of Nigeria did not reach northern state, Borno State. ISIS was able to root its evilness. And of course, it has been in Nigeria for a period of time. However, the acts of Boko Haram came to our attention with the taking of 165 plus girls and boys that we all know in terms of the tragedy of taking the girls. Can I get 2 minutes?
Yes, I yield the gentleman an additional 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
And we began this campaign to bring the girls back. In the spring of 2014, I led a bipartisan delegation to Borno State and met with families whose girls had been taken and whose girls were still taken. I met with Jubilee, an organization that had saved some of the girls and were educating them here. And so this legislation, this resolution is particularly important because it tracks the legislation I authored, HRS 143, in condemning the cowardly acts of what has occurred through Boko Haram, particularly in the town of Baga, where it's alleged that thousands were killed. And it also focuses on the Nigerian election, where we're asking that the elections pending this weekend will be held expeditiously and safely. But I want to mention that we understand that Boko Haram is a heinous, evil group that kills children and men and women and innocent persons and burns down villages and intimidates people who just want democracy and an opportunity to live. That means these elections are crucial, and those who stand for election, they must stand for democracy and the ending of the siege of Boko Haram in whatever way it can be. Let me express my gratefulness to the African Union, of which I raised a question with them, led by Chad and Nigeria and other countries, to fight off the siege of Boko Haram. But let me be very clear that Boko Haram wants to be associated with ISIS. They want to continue to be heinous and evil and dangerous, and they must be weeded out, and the continent of Africa must stand with them. I do want to acknowledge that there's been a victims fund set up, and it's important for the government of Nigeria to fund that victims fund and use that victims fund for the broken families and broken children. And we know that Boko Haram has caused the death of over 9,000 persons. This resolution asks for the recognition of the dangers of Boko Haram and the elimination of Boko Haram and the safety and security of a strong election. Speaker, as I close, let me simply say that I urge the candidates to do and to stand for peaceful elections. I urge the people to exercise their right to vote. I urge the international community to continue to support and promote a safe and free and fair election. And I urge the winner to bring people together and to stop this horrible siege. Again, I thank my colleagues for yielding.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
To support the resolution HRS 53, I yield back. I thank the Speaker very much.